All right. Well, want to welcome everyone and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Eugene Stefanov. I'm part of the marketing team at Perficient, and I'm very excited that you've joined us for today's webinar in which we'll discuss the secrets to acquiring and retaining customers in financial services. Before we move on to a brief overview of Perficient, I'd like to cover some basic housekeeping items. All participants on this call are in listen-only mode, which means that everyone is on mute. You are welcome to submit questions to our speakers at any time today. They will be addressed as time allows towards the end of the presentation. If you still have unanswered questions after the webinar, feel free to contact our speakers. Their contact information will be made available in the presentation. You are also welcome to fill out the Contact Us form found on Perficient's website. Please note that today's webinar is being recorded and will be sent to you within several days. We will also be sending you a link to the presentation PDF. All right, a little bit about Perficient. So Perficient is a leading global digital consultancy. We imagine, create, engineer, and run digital transformation solutions that help our clients exceed customer expectations, outpace the competition, and grow their business. With unparalleled strategy, creative, and technology capabilities, we really bring big thinking and innovative ideas along with a practical approach to help the world's largest enterprises and biggest brands succeed. We have a broad network of locations across the US, as well as nearshore and offshore facilities in India, China, Colombia, Mexico, and Serbia. So founded in 1997, we're a public company with more than 4,500 employees. We've formed strategic partnerships with many major technology vendors and also have dedicated solution and industry practices. So one of these industry practices is, of course, financial services. This slide shows our depth of experience. You can see that we have relationships with over 50 of the world's largest public financial services companies. All right, now that I've covered the housekeeping items and told you a little bit about our company, I'd like to pass it over to today's speakers, Scott Albahari and Arvind Murali.
Thank you, Eugene. And good afternoon, everybody. And again, thank you for taking the time today. We're going to be a little bit like Netflix today and give you a spoiler alert. We promise to tell you the secret of acquiring and retaining customers in financial services. And the secret really is that there is no secret. There is no one silver bullet, no one killer use case that will grow your businesses in the digital age. Today, we're going to talk about the challenges many banks and insurers face in building the foundational aspects of the next generation of customer acquisition tools. These tools are important to enabling authentic personalization. The future of banking and insurance is going to be very personalized, and personalization is becoming the key driver behind our customers' ongoing digital strategies. Additionally, we will give you some practical steps to begin preparing your organizations for this next step. Right now, what we hear banks and insurers say are the top two challenges facing them are: one, acquiring new customers, and two, creating personalized experiences. And I guess I misspoke a little earlier. Creating personalized experiences is really one of the secrets to acquiring and retaining customers in financial services. That's not surprising. In an age where 66% of people would consider banking with a tech company, we are seeing banks and insurers focus more and more on personalized customer interactions. Upwards of 75% of consumers are willing to share personal data as long as they feel that data is secured and is used in return for better advice, better deals, better experiences, or better experiences across the physical and digital channels. These two things, the customer willingness to share information and our industry's increasing need to be more relevant in the moment for a customer, is driving a lot of interest and investment in technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and smart personalization. So personalizing the customer experience is not an easy task. That's why we say it's hard work, it's challenging, and it takes time to get it right. You will need cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence to facilitate it, You will need to be able to orchestrate the integration of vast amounts of internal, external, and activity-based data, and you will need various technologies to manage it all, as well as a culture that's capable of really exploiting what the data can offer. So we all know that there are a lot of data management challenges in financial services companies, especially banks and insurance companies. The landscape is complex, and I think we can all relate to some of the challenges highlighted here. To become more data-driven and personalize customer interactions, banks and insurers need to address three key data management trends: volume, ubiquity, and user demands. We all know we work in data-intensive businesses. Internally generated data like customer information, transaction, purchase history, service inquiries, and claims information generate hundreds of millions of new data points on a daily basis. To add to this complexity, much of the data is unstructured. For example, there's a lot of commercial value in large volumes of insurance claim documentation, which is mostly in text form and notes associated with claims and cases. Data is also everywhere. The number of data sources, coupled with the rapid growth in storage capacity, computational power, and connectivity, has led to data being created and processed on an unprecedented scale. The nature of the internet, the growing number of interconnected devices, and the rapid pace of automation mean that data creation will continue to rise at a rapid rate. Not only is there an explosion in the volume of data being generated, but the velocity with which it is transmitted and the variety of forms that data may take are also multiplying. Structured and unstructured data sets can take a number of different forms, encompassing traditional data, alternative data, and big data. Each data type varies in its maturity and usage, with less mature types like browsing history, social media, and crowdsourced reviews requiring a degree of specialized or even novel techniques for effective processing. Today, almost every employee in our industry is really a data analytics user who needs the speed and information equivalent to what they experience with personal consumer technologies. Users are demanding self-service access to data, easy-to-use tools for decision support and trend identification. And of course, they need to trust the accuracy and security of that data. It's no surprise that the current data management landscape is complex. In our work with customers, we see multiple data lakes, data warehouses, operational applications, mobile applications, online applications, call centers, and analytics solutions. Data can be and usually are located in hybrid environments, on premises, and in the cloud, making it challenging to connect it all together to drive meaningful insight into customers, products, and sales channels. Next slide, please. So what we're seeing going on right now is that banks and insurers have been pretty good at targeting customer microsegments and tailoring offers to them. But we're certainly seeing the pressures of tech-savvy retailers like Amazon, who have put personalization at the center of their business models, eroding the traditional segment marketing model in financial services. Due to changing customer expectations and the increased competition from fintech, our customers are increasingly focused on ways to collect, contextualize, and analyze data to find the best ways to serve customers and gain insights into behavior. They realize they cannot leave these huge amounts of data unexploited. So really, what's the way forward? It's an emerging area of data analytics called customer intelligence. Customer intelligence allows you to better understand your customers' preferences, motivations, patterns, and wants and needs by combining demographic data, transactions, second and third-party data, channel activity, and sales and marketing history to build deeper and more effective customer relationships and improve customer satisfaction, referrals, and opportunities to cross-sell. It is becoming a critical ingredient in making effective strategic decisions. And it's the foundation of building the future business intelligence ecosystem. From a technology perspective, and Arvind will talk more about this in a few moments, customer intelligence is a solution that collects data from multiple sources, combines structured and unstructured data, and leverages artificial intelligence, machine learning, business intelligence, data visualization, and predictive analytics to develop insights around things like propensity to buy, hypersegmentation, personalization, and next best action and forecasting. It's insights like this that provide the aha moments that can help you lead to increased cross-sell and upsell results, reduce customer churn, and improve customer experiences. So why is this important? Why is customer intelligence important? Well, we know that data alone isn't all that useful. It's always the context that gives data meaning. So for example, if you knew the specific route a customer drives to work and the accident statistics for that route, or which customers average 10,000 steps per day versus those who are couch potatoes, that would help you develop more personalized risk profiles and product pricing and products for those customers. Some use cases enabled by personalization are highlighted here on the slide, but there are many, many, many more. We're not seeing a lack of good ideas in this space, but what we do see is a need for banks and insurers to mature their data orchestration capabilities from ingestion and integration through delivery, including actions, channels, timing, and sequencing. Effective personalization really requires a solid data management and analysis foundation. So it's interesting to see that banks and insurers that actually have started down the personalization road are reporting positive results with significant increases in revenue per customer, retention, engagement, and sales conversions. So we're all familiar with TV commercials with customer level personalization and auto insurance. Think about Progressive Snapshot. These products give insurance companies a way to measure how risky a driver you are by directly observing your driving habits. This monitoring of customer behavior enables dynamic pricing and reinforces expected behaviors to minimize risk. These are all cogs of personalization that move only through constant and relevant customer engagement and data analytics. Capital One is also an early adopter in personalizing interactions with customers. Its Second Look program monitors customer spending habits and gives detailed insights into expense patterns of customers through push notifications on their apps. The bank is also piloting the use of location-based customer data to push offers to customers who shop at partner retailers, with the goal to drive up adoption of its cards at selected retailers. So lots of banks and insurance companies are experimenting aggressively with personalized search experiences, attribute-based contact routing, custom call scripting, and social media text analysis to know when and what to communicate to customers and prospects, predict actions, optimize offers, and identify when customers are ready to buy. As we alluded to earlier, it's all about the data and how that data is managed and analyzed. Banks and insurers need to combine their existing and new data into a single data universe. It's complex and challenging, and most organizations know this. Only 7% feel they offer advanced levels of personalization within their digital applications. Fully 75% consider themselves not adept at using artificial intelligence to provide next best action recommendations, and 51% consider data analytics a major challenge. So I think we're all familiar with the challenges in the industry, and certainly the challenges of implementing effective personalization. Many banks and insurance companies, a single data universe is still an aspiration. More often, data resides in multiple siloed environments, and because data is not meaningfully connected across these silos, it is less accessible, compromising insight into customers, partners, products, and sales channels. Data silos are often reinforced by organizational silos. Different groups manage different data, and teams use different tools and often rarely interact with one another. Fragmented databases make it difficult to organize information and create 360-degree customer profiles. And legacy IT systems are often unable to measure responses or recommend next best actions, while complex organizational structures and silos undermine coherence and focus. The traditional business intelligence infrastructure that most firms have built can no longer keep up with analytics needs. These solutions cannot handle the growth of new data types like images, audio, and video, and they do not give users insight into data origins or transformations applied. These challenges are also further complicated by the increasing number of business processes and analytic solutions that require real-time data access to support decision-making. As a result, although banks and insurers want to develop more personalized marketing capabilities, those that are not taking a customer intelligence approach and building an appropriate analytics ecosystem are missing a more strategic opportunity for true differentiation. Because it is an ecosystem, it is comprised of many different solutions that need to be seamlessly integrated. This makes it imperative that all stakeholders are educated on the benefits as well as the investments required to build this ecosystem. So what can you be doing now? You know, it's a big job and there's a lot to do, but you don't have to do it all at once, but you do have to take the first few steps. So while many financial solutions are conceptually on board and heavily investing in various pieces of customer intelligence, really the Netflix of banking or insurance has yet to emerge. The main reason is that true end-to-end personalization requires developing new capabilities, such as strong cross-channel offerings, cross-enterprise collaboration, a single view of the customer, and a new technology ecosystem, all of which are challenging. To be successful, organizations need to develop and implement a strategy that not only addresses technology and tools, but also data management, employee skills, and organizational culture. Creating a complete, accurate picture of any given customer is challenging. Practical personalization takes ongoing effort and continuous refinement. This involves both coordination and integration, along with the all-important human component. The right tools are also crucial for translating data into effective personalization. Customer intelligence strategy needs to start with the customer. Think about how you can build a more direct relationship with your customers. What do you have of value to offer them? How can you use data to enable that value? And will your customers find value in the information exchange required? What third-party data will you need to add to your internal data and existing data to make meaningful correlations? This is the time to consider which channels you will focus on to improve impact, your overall business goals, and what business problems you are trying to solve. Define the key stakeholders using the data, what changes might be required in how these stakeholders interact with each other, and how that data needs to be collected, cleansed, corroborated, and connected. These considerations will drive the appropriate technology, IT infrastructure, and skill enhancements that will facilitate your strategy. We see a lot of banks and insurers struggle with collaborative culture, but it is collaboration that is crucial to driving a successful customer intelligence implementation. Look with a critical eye at your organization's maturity when it comes to collaboration. Improvement in this area really needs to be driven from the top. Decision-making executives need to be the driving force to embrace this culture shift company-wide. Also consider your organization's internal skills and whether or not you need a partner to help you on this journey. Qualified data scientists and analysts are in short supply right now, and many organizations don't have the right mix of internal skills to embark on this journey. You also have to integrate and perhaps implement new technologies and new tools and systems to provide data-driven views of customer interactions. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are critical components of customer intelligence, and appropriate care should be given to choosing the right mix of strategic products and platforms that will enable you to scale and be applicable across multiple use cases in the enterprise. Also remember to look at your organization's development throughput. Make sure you have the capabilities to cope with the influx of development that will be coming your way. And lastly, you need to look at your data. Privacy by design should be at the core of any data enablement strategy, with responsible governance as a foundation. Bring your IT, legal, and privacy teams together to create sustainable policies around data collection, processing, and management. And don't collect data for the sake of having it for future use. If you don't have a plan and policies set up in advance for any data capture, go back to step one. Have a plan in place to make sure your data is correct, clean, and formatted so that it can be matched with other attributes and signals. Resolve to a single identity. An end-to-end system of identity is the key to successful personalization. And remember that your customers change all the time. Think about how you will maintain an accurate, up-to-date identity, taking into account changes in addresses, emails, devices, names, and ages. So it's not just about collecting data, but ensuring that the information is accurate and acquired in a transparent manner that customers are comfortable with. Now I will turn it over to Arvind, who will go into more detail about the frameworks and the technology platforms and infrastructures that are required to enable this type of change.
Thank you, Scott. I'm certainly a couch potato and use Capital One, so learned a lot from your examples there. Powerful words, right? Customers and landscape changes, all about the data, no single data universe, which is a nirvana. These are powerful words, yet they're so obvious, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of a framework that'll help you think about this customer intelligence in a very enterprise architecture way, right? We live in an experience economy and more so post-COVID. Data and technology are going to be the key for organization success, right? I'm not saying they're the drivers. They are very important enablers. So let's run down the memory lane for just 30 seconds of how things have changed over the last 3 to 4 decades. 80s and 90s were hardware and software innovation. So you've got the big Microsoft, IBM, Apple-like companies, which dominated that decade. 90s, then, slowly but surely, the digital revolution started. So this is where Amazon, Netflix, eBay, the internet companies were coined, right? 2000s then essentially changed your interaction with social media. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all of these interactions made this thing called personalization even possible, right? And organizations to consider that as valuable data assets. Now it's about customer intelligence. So think about the Amazons, the Airbnbs, and the Ubers of the world. May not be Uber in this pandemic situation, but the important aspect here is they are platforms where digital and data landscape work together to drive collaboration and personalization. And I can assure you, post this COVID back in control, this is going to be the new normal, right, for competitive differentiation. So with all of this, what does customer intelligence essentially mean? Scott gave a very clear definition that I just want to reiterate. Customer intelligence is a holistic understanding of customers where, starting from gathering to contextualizing to analyzing and eventually provide insights. In addition, customer intelligence also means placing that information in a context, right? So we learn everything about the customer and all the different environmental factors that influences their decisions. Now, out of all of this, you're going to get the who, the what, the when, and the where. So we define customer intelligence as 6 factors. Know me, the ability for you to look at a customer profile and the 360 of their transactions. This is their sphere of influence, their interaction with your business, their online profiles such as social media, and what can you offer out of all of these things? What have you offered already that they didn't like, right? It's beyond just the master data, while master data is extremely critical for this piece. Respond anywhere, anytime. This is the ability for you to meet the customer where they want you to meet and how they want to communicate with you, right? These are the different channels that Scott mentioned before, the mobile, the social, the call center, all these things that they interact with your organization. Address My Pain and Passion essentially understands the customer profile, all the 360 that I gained, right? And personalize those offers and messages. Reward My Loyalty is an analytics capability, right? So now you're actually caring about them and understanding them and rewarding them to be loyal to your brand. Enriching customers' profiles with third party is not just about the first party and second party. It is about adding all these additional, if you Google the term massively open online data, MOOD, there is a lot of free data and paid data out there, right? If you're really thinking about capitalizing on your data assets, you need to add third-party data sets into your first and second party. And by the way, just give it back to the customer. A simple example, if you go to Google and you just type for a book that you want to buy, you will immediately see that your search results will show you the different vendors that offer that book, right? Amazon being one of those. But you'll also see all the different price points that those vendors offer. You as a customer never ask this from Google, right? But they offer that to you as a value proposition. And there are so many examples like these. So, and last but not the least, Scott touched a little bit on this, privacy by design. A very important aspect of privacy is your data governance, your data ethics, your data security, right? GDPR and CCPA actually started all of this, but then now customers are taking it a lot more seriously. One other important thing to think about, you don't notice this every day, but you have the ability to block your cookies when you're using any type of browsers, right? There are still patterns that organizations can actually use to analyze a behavior of a population with anonymity of your personal information. What this means is there are still organizations can still take advantage of economies of scale, of the data that is out there. And that's what customer intelligence is all about. Now, the key takeaway here is going to be the customer data just sitting in a data warehouse or a big data environment is absolutely useless, right? It is the business context and the analytics that uncovers your trends and insight. And the vice versa of that. Analytics without appropriate data to support it is just an opinion. So you got to consider both data and analytics in the context of your customer when you're thinking about customer intelligence. Next slide, please. All right, so what we did was our representation of the customer intelligence framework is classified into 6 tiers. Scott used this term, the Netflix of banks and insurers, right? This is the enterprise architecture way of thinking about that. I'm going to go bottom up, and I'll tell you, at the end why I'm doing that. So in the bottom, you've got the platform. The focus here is going to be storage, compute, the SaaS, PaaS, IaaS offerings from cloud platforms. Sure. Once in a while, these on-premise vendors, they come in and the on-premise implementations. We see far and few on-premise, but the concept still applies, right? In addition, critical capabilities like DevOps and data ops have to be ready if you're thinking about facilitating the data product. One layer up, the data management. I'm sure everybody here in this call would have heard the common data services and the common data model. It is a trending topic with our customers, and we strive to constantly answer them in their mindset of data products. In addition, there are a few other key components here, such as your metadata, such as your tagging and classification, or ABI management. One layer up, you go to the 360. Now, master data management offers you a customer profile. However, the 360 is beyond just the demographic information. You have to consider hierarchies, transactions. So a segment of the vendors offer this thing called Customer Data Platform, or CDP. Some call it DMP. Essentially, it's the 360 about the customer, the individual or the account you're trying to target, right? One layer up, advanced analytics. I've built all this data layer now. I need to have analytics that tells me a story, that tells me the context, the predictive, prescriptive, and of course, the descriptive models, right? Scott touched a lot on machine learning and artificial intelligence. Here's where you can use the power of AI and start thinking about what can you do to your customer? What adds value to them? Notice that web intelligence is a key part of this tier. It's not just the traditional data. It's the web data, right, that adds value to your overall analytics portfolio. One layer up. I've got all this data and analytics built out. Now what? I need to reach this out to my customer, right? As I said before, customers like for you to target in the channels that they want and the way they want, right? So if you have to meet your customers where they are. Robotic process automation, or RPA and APIs, kind of facilitates those orchestration, but then all these digital technologies allows you to capitalize on reaching out to customer at any channel, at any time, and the way they want it. And last but certainly not the least, I've got all this customer intelligence built out. You can throw that out the window if there's no use cases associated with it, right? There should be a clear value proposition of what you're trying to do here, a business value, if you will. Otherwise, this just turns into a science project. So, that's kind of our 6-tier framework for the customer intelligence. Next slide, please. So let's quickly chat about a couple of case studies here, right? This case study was about one of our customers, specifically the marketing department, who wanted to track different engagement levels of their customers and prospects, right? And they wanted to set up actions. That can be an automated email, right? And what did my analytics and data say? They want to package it up and do some action out of it. So the first step they did was they converted all of their content, their documents, their structured data, using capabilities like cognitive services, right? The vision, speech, and text recognition algorithms, and turned it into information, into that 360 profile that I'm talking about, right? Their marketing team used this to prioritize and segment their customers, to personalize their offerings. Analytics gave them that targeting information. How do I segment my customers? What does my data say? Now this, what's the value in me doing all of this if I'm not able to track them and show the progress? These are the KPIs that we use to track the progress. The intent here is every customer journey has a set of measures that were put in place to understand the attribution and churn, right? This also tracks back to this concept of OKR, objectives and key results, that large companies like Facebook have used and successfully used them. This is where I've got my KPIs mapped back to a CEO level objective, to a business strategy, okay? If you think about the journey itself, in this case, the customer had 5 touch points. You've got the reach, the ability for the customer to reach out to you. You've got the acquire, which is, I know who you are, and I want to start thinking about you. So they fill up a form, they fill up some kind of a online form that'll enable them to start interacting with your customer service. Customer service can be a chatbot too, by the way. It doesn't have to be a human. Then you go into the activate. This is a process where my leads are now getting converted to customers, right? So how many of something to track is how many of my completed forms are actually canceled or even acquired or completed, right? And so now you've got this customer base. How do I retain them? What kind of attribution and churn analytics I need to run to understand what they want out of us? How does their behavior look like? Now, don't forget the online data. It's not just about the offline data, all right? And then they have this new term called dark data, which is historical data that is not being used much. If there's an opportunity for you to tap into dark data, go for it, right? But it's important you understand what data is out there and what data you want to retain your customers. And last but not the least is bonding. It's a troubling time for all of us, right? There are some financial crises going, there's a health crisis going. It is absolutely important for banks and insurers to focus on genuinely caring about this crisis. And you can track that too, right? There are some KPIs that tracks it. So that's, if you think about measuring your customer intelligence, here's one example. Let's pivot this to a different example. This is a very large cybersecurity company. I'm sure that 50% of y'all in this call have heard about that company before. It's a global company. Their product management, their sales ops, and their marketing team came to us and they said, here's the deal. We want to track these customers' sentiments and their product usage to understand the churn. In addition, we want to track customers who have downloaded our 30-day trial version, or even loyal customers on how we can cross-sell and upsell products, right? That is their use case. I absolutely love the way they define the virus versus cybersecurity, right? A computer virus uses humans to attack systems versus a cybersecurity uses systems to attack humans. So in this case, we use the HEART framework, which was invented by Google. HEART framework combines qualitative measures such as happiness and quantitative measures such as adoption. Typically, you would use this to track any kind of product that you're offering, right? All the product companies or services like banks, right? Or any reinsurance companies, they track these kind of happiness and qualitative and quantitative measures. So happiness is are you feeling good about the product that you're using? Engagement is what is your engagement with this brand just beyond your products and services that you're using? You know, favorite companies like Netflix and Amazon has a lot of reviews in social media, and they love to track these kind of sentiment analysis. Adoption then says, well, you've got a 30-day trial, you're 25 days into it. Are you going to adopt it? If you are, what are some of the criteria that you've used to adopt it? Why do you want our product, right? Retention then says, I'm going to use that analytics that I just decided, and I'm going to start looking at what else can I offer you? What other products and services can I offer you? And then last but not the least, is my customer service actually is my customer service have the ability to target customers and do what they're supposed to do, which is retain or cross-sell, upsell, right? This is what you would call as a task success. So this is a different way of looking at this. And you know, there are many other metrics that I've not mentioned here, but you know, what's important here is to track progress of customer intelligence. All right, so breaking your old business model is never easy. Leaders tend to continue on their path using instinct, and they focus on business as usual instead of thinking the whole now, new, next. What we do is we use our Envision framework to guide leaders through this process. Our insight space articulates your vision and understands where you stand relative to the customer expectations or the competitive forces that are not in your control. Then we get into a mapping exercise of mapping that vision to your needs, right? From an analytics perspective, data perspective, and capabilities perspective. We then summarize them in our investment phase for what is the cost of implementing this, what is the target architecture, and what is our roadmap to get where we want to be. In many cases, we have seen our customers conduct POCs and POTs, proof of concept and proof of technology, just to make sure that technology meets your customer intelligence need. All right, so as a leading digital consultancy, we've invested a lot of our time and effort in creating this customer intelligence framework. We've involved our strategists, our technologists, and our business experts. We've also met with a number of our industry analysts and understood their issues and trends, right? Especially during this pandemic times. Finally, we implemented this framework as the case studies talk about, to make sure that this is a framework that actually supports your business strategy. Our vision here is to change the perception from a technology-centric world to a information-centric world, right? Hope you found value in our presentation. I'm going to assume that based on the number of questions you're going to ask you, all right? But I'll be the moderator for the Q&A. Eugene, I'm not seeing the questions. My apologies.
Yeah, no, it actually, at the moment, we don't have any questions. So if you do have them, feel free to ask them in the questions feature. There we go. Okay. How to manage data privacy requirements across the globe with a common framework. So
that's a good question. Yeah, so there is no silver bullet for that question. Every country has different requirements. Some are governed by GDPR, others governed by their own country-specific requirements. So while there is no common framework, there's always a data ethics, data privacy consideration. You always have to be mindful of sensitive data, especially customer demographic, customer relationship, on who is going to use it, how are they going to use it. If you know the use case, if you know why they want access to that data, you can then carefully consider giving them access to that particular data, especially the sensitive ones. Scott, do you have any additional comments on the data privacy?
No, I would agree. I would think what you need to do is think about what are the core framework components from a data privacy perspective that are common in all the jurisdictions you're operating in, and that you can get fairly commoditized, for lack of a better term, but you're always going to need individual regional exceptions and individual regional frameworks in order to supplement whatever your core common framework is for the things that are common across all the jurisdictions. So I agree with you, Arvind. That's a tough one to attack from a purely consistent point of view.
Generalize it, yep. Right. I think that's all the questions we got, Eugene.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for letting me know. I had to pop out the questions box to be able to see it. So if anyone does have questions after today's presentation, you are welcome to email Scott or Arvind directly. You can also connect with them on LinkedIn, and you can follow our social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We'd love to have you guys follow us and interact with us as well. We are going to send the recording of this webinar in the next day or so, along with a link to the presentation for you guys to share with your colleagues. So again, wanted to thank you everyone for joining today's presentation. Thank you, Scott and Arvind, for presenting. And we look forward to talking to you guys soon. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you all.